Hello, YouTube. My name is Karen K, and these are my thoughts on Abbott Elementary Season 2, Episode 3, The Story Samurai. The episode opens up with Janine looking for a shawl, and it turns out that the custodian, Mr. Johnson, has taken it and is now wearing it. That is one thing about Abbott Elementary that I really love. The small moments with the characters just really add so much to the realistic feeling of the episodes. The next scene, where all the teachers are in the lounge discussing their workload, is super relatable to me as a teacher because the school year starts out a lot of times and we are full of enthusiasm and sometimes idealism. Still, once the school year gets into full gear, it can feel like we as teachers are swamped. And I think most teachers can relate to Melissa's character right now because she has a ridiculously difficult assignment and is teaching second and third grade. This is how I felt when I was teaching in person classes and virtual classes when the pandemic first started. And I had about 200 kids on my roster. So, Melissa, I definitely feel you. I can also relate to this character because I do act like I have everything together sometimes, and it takes a lot for me to ask for help. Then we get the news the Story Samurai are coming. This is a group that improvises stories for kids, and Jacob is super excited, and he is literally the only one. And the camera pans around and catches the character's facial expressions when he's talking about Jacob is talking about himself being cool. And that's another thing that I really enjoy about the show is that it captures those realistic, like real life expressions. And this episode, Ava is still Ava. I love her character because she overall represents how dysfunctional education leadership can be. But she is actually trying to help Melissa this time by suggesting that she request an aid. Then the Story Samurai perform, and it's super cringy. And the Story Samurai are making a story with a Meek Mill meerkat. It is cringy. And next, we all find out that Jacob is going to perform with the Story Samurai, and Greg and Janine exchange a concerned look. But Mr. Johnson and Ava are hyping it up because they want to see Jacob embarrass himself and laugh. And we get Melissa trying to control her group of second and third graders, which is super chaotic. And I understand I haven't taught two different grades at once, but sometimes you get a class where students are at such different levels, it almost may as well be. Greg knocks on Janine's door to say hi, and I thought this was interesting because I know these two are going to have a slow burn romance, but I can't really remember him seeking her out like that before. And it's almost like they have their own little special knock to know that they're gonna come and talk for a second in the hall. And while they're talking, Janine tells Greg that she's convinced Jacob not to perform, but she didn't tell him the truth about why. She tells him it's because he should let the new members shine, but in reality, they're going to laugh at him. And I can relate to Janine in that I would have a hard time telling him the truth also. The conversation that Jacob has with the Story Samurai is pretty interesting. They basically say they do as much as they can to help these schools spread joy, as they say, and then they leave. And I thought it was interesting because that can be taken as them having some sort of privilege, even though one of the characters that says these things is Black. But at the same time, given the current state of education, I can understand this because teaching is hard. Janine is finally honest with Jacob and tells him that, hey, he is corny. He seems in denial about it, and she also compares him to being like other white teachers who have come into Black spaces. He doesn't see himself like them, but it is true. It is true. That is not necessarily a bad thing, though, but he is culturally different and he should acknowledge it. And in a lot of ways, hey, he is corny, and that's okay. Him being himself is what makes the kids like him, corny and all. Kids like it when teachers are themselves, as long as they know that they care about them. And by the end, that is what Jacob learns. So he realizes that he just needs to continue to embrace being corny. That's who he is. Melissa has a conversation with Diane, and she realizes that it is okay to ask for help. I'm really curious about next week, though. I think Ashley is going to end up driving Melissa crazy, but I think it's going to be a learning experience for both characters. These are my thoughts. Thank you for listening. If you like this review, please like, share, and subscribe.